900 years ago, before pirates, before the world government, before any of the names you know, there was one man who changed everything. His name was Joyboy. He was the first pirate in history. Born into what's known as the Great Kingdom, right at the start of the mysterious Void Century, he grew into one of the most powerful and important figures the world has ever seen. Joyboy wasn't a warlord chasing conquest. He traveled from place to place, spreading laughter, freeing slaves, and befriending anyone who needed him. He had a rubbery body and fought in ways nobody had ever seen before, because he carried the power of a devil fruit tied to a legendary figure, the sun god Nika. But Joyboy's kindness put him directly at odds with the ruling powers of his era. An alliance of 20 kingdoms, the very forces that would eventually become the world government, saw him and the ancient kingdom he represented as a threat too big to ignore. Before the war that would define his fate, Joyboy made a promise. On Fishman Island, he formed a bond with Poseidon and the merfolk, vowing that one day he'd bring the fishmen and merfolk to live on the surface, under the real sun, together with humanity. To make it happen, he planned to raise a massive ship called Noah, using Poseidon's power. He never got the chance. The war against the 20 kingdoms broke out, and Joyboy fought them essentially alone. He lost. The defeat shattered the ancient kingdom, buried 100 years of history, and left Joyboy unable to keep his promise. All he could leave behind was an apology, carved into a poneglyph, admitting he'd failed the people who trusted him. That single apology is the first real clue the world ever got about him. Centuries later, Nico Robin discovers it in the sea forest of Fishman Island, and the mystery of Joyboy begins for the audience too. His legacy didn't end there. Somewhere on the final island of the Grand Line, Joyboy left behind a treasure, the very treasure that would one day be named the One Piece. When Gold Roger and his crew reached that island decades ago, they finally learned the true history of the world. Roger found it all so tragic and hilarious that he named the island Laugh-Tale, wishing he could have lived in the same era as Joyboy himself. For 800 years, Joyboy's devil fruit vanished from history, passed around without anyone realizing its true power. It eventually landed with the Straw Hat Pirates, when Monkey D. Luffy ate it without even knowing what it was. 12 years later, when Luffy finally awakened its true form, the ancient elephant Zunisha declared it to the world. Joyboy has returned. That doesn't mean Luffy is Joyboy reincarnated. Instead, Joyboy appears to be a title, a role passed to whoever rises to fight for freedom in their era. Luffy inherited the power, the spirit, and now, the name. Even the world government's rulers haven't forgotten him. Emu, the shadowy figure sitting above even the Five Elders, was directly connected to the war that ended Joyboy's story, and his name alone is still enough to unsettle them centuries later. That's Joyboy's story so far, a legend of freedom, failure, and a promise still waiting to be fulfilled. And with Luffy carrying his name into the final saga, the question everyone's asking is simple. Is this finally the era Joyboy's promise gets kept?